Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. For props for today, a couple hard blocks, a soft block, and a blanket will likely come in handy, and then anything else you like to practice with. And when you're ready, we'll get started in a reclined butterfly position, but if you'd rather start off in a seat or in child's pose or something like that, then go for it. If you're coming with me, then you might have your hard blocks nearby, maybe your blanket as a pillow, and you can come to find any comfortable shape on the back. If you're setting up butterfly, soles of the feet together, knees apart, maybe supporting the thighs with your hard blocks. And check in here if anything feels a little fidgety or a little sticky. Maybe you need some movement before you find your stillness, so go for that. And then start to get comfortable in your shape. Find a comfortable place for the arms, the hands. If it feels okay to close down the eyes, go for it. Otherwise, steady the gaze, find something unmoving to look at. If there's anything that you can change, either in your shape or in your environment to help you feel just a little more comfortable here, a little more settled, then maybe make that change now. And then when you're ready, find your stillness. Inviting the body to start to feel heavy here. Inviting the mind to start to quiet as best you can. And from this quiet place, gently invite the breath to deepen. And with each inhale, exploring a sense of space, a sense of weightlessness. With each exhale, a sense of softening, a sense of grounding. You can choose stillness for as long as you need, and you can stay right here working with your breath or come back to this shape whenever you need it. And when you feel ready to start to move the body, you might reach down and gently guide the legs back together. Maybe the knees come to touch and the feet come a little further apart. You can pause here for a breath or two. And when you feel ready, you might start to windshield wiper the knees gently side to side. And any other stretch that feels good, maybe taking the arms up overhead. Awesome. When you feel ready, collect your knees into your chest, wrap the arms around the shins, give your legs a rock side to side. And we're going to come up to a seat, so you can roll down to one side if you prefer, or take the hands to the backs of the knees and gently start to rock and roll up the length of the spine, mindful of the neck. When you're ready, you start to build up some momentum and come up to find any comfortable seated position. You can sit cross-legged. If you want to sit up off of one of your props, then go for it. And take a moment to find a sense of grounding through the sit bones. And then when you're ready, we'll set up for a twist. So you can take the left hand to the right knee, the right hand somewhere behind you. Take a deep inhale, lengthen. And with your exhale, start to twist the chest open towards the right, any amount. Notice if the right shoulder is shrugging, maybe you need a prop underneath. Maybe you can soften it down a little bit. And if you want to take the gaze towards the right shoulder or beyond it, then go for it. Stay here, take a few deep breaths. With an inhale breath, unravel back to center. And then we'll set up for the second side. Right hand, left knee, left hand behind you. Deep inhale to lengthen the spine. And then exhale to twist towards the left. Take the first breath or two to set yourself up any way you need. And then breathe here. Inhale breath, unravel to center. And with your exhale, take your counter twist back to the first side. Awesome. And then as you're ready, roll over the knees and come and find a tabletop position. You can sit your hands up roughly underneath the shoulders, the knees roughly underneath the hips. Palms flat, or you can work from fists if that feels better for you. And then we'll flow cat-cow. So as you inhale, let the belly sag down, lift the heart space and the tailbone. And then as you exhale, press the hands to the floor, dome the upper back. Inhale, lengthen the front body, lift the gaze. And exhale, reverse it, lengthen the back body. And then keep flowing with your breath at your pace. And you can also pause anywhere along the way. Last couple. The next time you inhale, return to a tabletop position, separate the knees a little wider, and then with your exhale, take the hips towards the heels, extend the arms forward and the forehead to the floor as you find your child's pose. And find a little movement here, add in any props that you need, and then come and find your stillness for a few deep breaths. Give the head a gentle rock side to side. Wiggle the fingers a little bit here. And then imagine that you're gripping the finger pads into the floor. And find some stability for the wrists. And then as you're ready, you press back up to a tabletop position. And this time tuck the toes under, lift the knees, and then we'll press the hips back for downward facing dog. Enjoy that stretch for the back line of the legs for a few breaths. Maybe pedal out the knees. You can rock the hips or shift your weight. Take anything that you need here. You can also play around with the proportions of the shape to find the version that feels best for today. And then when you're ready with an inhale breath, shift forward to plank pose and then lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes and then cobra pose as you inhale, lift the heart space, the gaze, any amount, and then soften down. And then twice more, inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale, press the tabletop, and then back to your downward facing dog. And take movement for a few breaths if you need it, and then find your stillness. From your downward facing dog, with an inhale breath, lift the right leg all the way up behind you, and then stay with the exhale and really press the hands into the floor. Heel straight up, inhale, and exhale. One more inhale, you might even lift it a little higher. And then with your exhale, step the right foot forward between your hands and pivot the left heel to the floor, left toes pointing left. And with an inhale, you can cartwheel the arms up and come and find your warrior two shape. Adjust your hair, your clothing, anything that you may have knocked around, and then come and find your warrior two. Check in with the body, make sure it feels stable the way it is. If you need to walk the front foot a little to the right or to the left, or if you need to change the back angle, then go for it. Arms are reaching, shoulders stay soft, and gaze can be forward or to the side. Breathe here. Awesome. With your inhale, reach forward a little bit. And then as you exhale, right elbow to the right thigh, and left arm can either reach up straight towards the ceiling or maybe towards the front of the room, palm down. And you can also have a half bind if that's better for the chest and shoulder. Check in with the feet, see which one has more pressure, and see if you can balance that out a little bit between the two. Notice what the top shoulder is doing, if it's dipping in towards the floor. See what you can do to accommodate a broad chest. All right, strong belly, inhale, come all the way up, and then reverse it, extending the front leg in the process. Find a strong line from the right toes to the right fingertips. Deep inhale here, and stay for the exhale. One more deep inhale, deep exhale. Inhale, come up, pivot the right foot in, and now with your exhale, hinge forward for a wide-legged forward fold. And take your time, you can adjust where the feet are pointing, the distance between them. Maybe finding props for the hands if the floor is a little far away, or feel free to explore a bind of some kind. Maybe hands are to the legs somewhere, maybe hands to the low back, maybe hands find opposite elbows. Notice the quality of your breath here, and if it went a little shallow, maybe you want to adjust your shape a little bit to accommodate a deeper breath. The hands can return somewhere under the shoulders. With an inhale, come and find a halfway lift, lengthen, and then stay here as you exhale. One more deep inhale. Deep exhale. Now with an inhale, start to walk the hands towards the left foot, and you can pivot all 10 toes towards the back of the mat. Dropping the right knee to the floor, heel toe the left foot to the left edge, and we'll set up for a lizard lunge here. So hands can stay under the shoulders, left toes can be pointing forward or out slightly. See what the ankle and the knee need here. And a few different options. You can play with bringing one elbow or both down to the floor, maybe onto your props. If you want a little more power in the shape, you could also tuck the back toes under and lift the back knee. Whatever your version is, take your time to set it up. Make sure it's a shape that you can still breathe those long, deep breaths in. Last couple. Awesome. If the back knee is lifted, you can lower it. And if you're on the elbows, come back onto the hands. And from here, we'll step the left knee to join the right, and separate the knees a little wider, and then hips back for your child's pose. And choose any version of the shape. Make it as gentle as you need it to be. can stay exactly as you are for as long as you need. You can transition to downward facing dog when you're ready. Or if you'd like to join me for a flow, extend the arms forward, press the hands down. You can press up to a tabletop position before shifting to plank pose. Deep inhale, top of a push-up, and stay with your exhale. 2 more, inhale, and exhale. Last full breath. And take your final inhale, and descend with your exhale. Untuck the toes, 3 rounds of cobra. When you're ready, tabletop with an inhale and downward facing dog with your exhale. And take a couple of breaths here, set up and find your stillness. And keeping the strength and the steadiness in the shape. As you feel ready with an inhale, lift the left leg up behind you. And then pause here as you exhale. And toes pointing down, heel up, inhale. And exhale. Last inhale, maybe even lift it a little higher. And with your exhale, step the left foot forward between the hands. Right heel down to the floor, right toes point right. And then mindful of the space around you, inhale and cartwheel up. And we'll come and find warrior 2. And take a moment to set yourself. This side might feel a little different to the first side. Arms reaching, shoulders soft, chest proud. And find that sense of steadiness in the shape. Awesome. And from your warrior 2, inhale, reach forward with the left, and then lower left elbow to the left knee, right arm straight up or towards the front. Broad chest, strong line from the right foot to the right fingertips, and breathe here. All right, strong belly, strong breath. Inhale, come all the way up, reverse it, and extend the left leg towards straight. Reaching the left arm up and over, right hand wherever it feels the most supportive. And then stretch that whole left side. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale, breath, and come back up. Pivot the left foot in, and then with your exhale, hinge forward, and come and find your wide-legged forward fold. Any expression of the shape, any arm expression you like, use any of the support that's around. Last few deep breaths here. And releasing the hands back under the shoulders. Come to your halfway lift with an inhale. And stay here with the exhale. Walking the hands towards the front of the mat, pivoting all 10 toes towards the right, and you can lower that left knee down straight away. Right foot to the right a few inches, and then orient the right foot wherever it feels best for the knee, the ankle, the hip. And then you can generally mirror whatever you did on the first side here, but if the side needs something a little different, then go for it. Hands under the shoulders or maybe down to the elbows. Maybe the back knee lifts. Even here, notice your breath. Can you find that weightlessness, that space with each inhale? And that grounding and softening with each exhale. If the back knee's lifted, lower it down and come back onto the hands. A little differently from here, you can lift the back knee back up and then start to walk the hands back towards the left foot. We'll keep the right leg extended, but start to bend into the left knee like a side squat. Checking in with your side lunge here, you can have the blocks for your hands if the floor is a little far away. And sometimes balancing can feel good here. Maybe you're extending the arms forward, mindful of the left ankle and knee, that there's not too much pressure there. Right leg is extended. Breathe here. Last deep inhale. And exhale. The fingertips to the floor, and then lift the hips up. Start to walk the hands towards the right foot now. Then we'll set up for the second side. Adjusting as you need to, and this side may feel a little different to the first, and you may need a slightly different expression. So play around, maybe blocks for the hands, maybe extending or prayer. Find your sense of balance here, and stay with your breath. All right, lower the hands back down and lift the hips back up to center. You can point all 10 toes and just shift the hips a little bit side to side to release anything. And then you can start to heel toe the feet a little closer together, maybe a little wider than the hips, and we'll come and find a squat. And check in with your shape here, see what you need. You can use your hard blocks and make yourself a seat if you want to take some pressure out of the knees. If the heels are floating, that's not a bad thing, but it might feel nice to ground them into something. So again, maybe your hard blocks, hands down or hands to prayer, gently lengthening the spine. As you feel ready, gently release one hand and then the other down behind you. Lower the bum to the floor and give yourself a gentle windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. We're going to set up for a wide-legged fold. So if you want to sit up off of one of your soft blocks, then go for it. And then if for any reason having the legs wide open and folding doesn't work for you today, feel free to do butterfly legs instead, soles of the feet together. And if you're coming with me for the wide-legged fold, just take a moment to set yourself up. Don't worry too much about where the legs are. Just make sure it feels even and steady in your body. And then having the hard blocks nearby might be useful too. Maybe you'll bring the hands onto them. Maybe eventually the elbows will lower onto them. If you want to round the upper back, if that feels good for you today, then go for it. Just make sure if you're rounding that you aren't pulling with the arms. And if you'd rather work with that length in the spine, maybe that space for the chest, then do that instead. Finding your pain-free expression, finding your stillness here. Using the support of the hands, gently start to lift yourself back up. And then you can help the knees back to a bend and give yourself a windshield wiper side to side. And then the next time the knees come down towards the right, we'll pause and set up for deer pose. So using any of your props that you have nearby, front shin mostly parallel to the top edge, back shin mostly parallel to the long edge. And if it feels like you're leaning over to the right quite a bit, then you might support that side with your soft block. You can also use your hard blocks maybe to support the front shin. If the knee feels like it needs a little something, maybe a block underneath or one underneath the ankle. If the back knee is sensitive, then maybe your blanket for a little extra padding. And if you have a block free, then you can have it nearby so you can support the forehead. And then see where you want to fold from. You can do more towards the knee, towards the shin, or more towards the ankle. So see what feels best for today. Eventually coming to settle into your pain-free expression. And staying with your breath. Supported by the hands, gently start to lift yourself back up. You can come up off of your soft block if you're on one, and then returning to center, give the knees a gentle windshield wiper. And eventually we'll start for the second side, so make sure you have your props nearby. And then see what this side feels like. You can use everything exactly the same way, but if this side needs something a little different, then feel free to modify. And same with choosing where to fold. It may be that this exact same place feels the best, or maybe you need something a little different for this side. Listen to your body and find your expression of the shape. Settle into stillness as you're ready. Gently lift yourself back up and slowly return yourself back to center. Maybe for one more slow windshield wiper. Awesome. And then you can gather your props back near the top of the mat. And we're going to swing the legs around and come to lying down on the belly. And setting up for a Sphinx pose. So you can have the elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. And then just check in to see if you need any extra padding here. Sometimes lying on the blanket can feel good. Or if you want a slightly deeper stretch, maybe you want to bring props underneath the elbows. You can keep forearms parallel or hands together. Just see what feels best for the shoulders. See if you can keep a little length through the neck here. Maybe soften down the gaze. Even here, perhaps exploring that weightlessness, that sense of space with each inhale. Softening, grounding with each exhale. If you'd benefit from a little more time here, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, as you feel ready, you can widen the elbows, gently release the forehead to the floor. And choose stillness or maybe a little rock of the hips side to side. And then we'll set up for a little side stretch. So you can take the left foot down towards the bottom left corner of the mat and maybe the right foot to join it. And reach the arms forward and then slide them over towards the left. You can keep the arms extended or you can bend the elbows. You can also rest the head to the side if that feels better. Maybe crossing right hand over left, maybe right ankle over left. And find that stretch for the whole left side. And gently return everything back to center. And we'll set up the second side. So right foot to the bottom right, left to join it. And then arms forward and slide them towards the right as well. And again, you can turn the head. You can bend the elbows. You can cross left over right. You'll find that stretch with the left hand side. And gently uncrossing, returning everything to center, and then pressing up to a tabletop position, and then coming to find your kneeling shape. Awesome. From here, we'll set up for frog pose. So having your blanket nearby might be useful for this, and you can lie your blanket across the mat. So make it like a thin rectangle, and then maybe with a little slack in the middle. So using this to help the knees slide apart more easily. And then it might be handy to have your heart blocks stacked on top of each other a bit in front so that you can rest the belly onto or the chest when you come into it. As you feel ready, come and find a tabletop position with your knees on the blanket. And then from here, start to slide the knees apart as best you can. And don't worry too much about where you end up. If you're feeling a nice stretch through the groin, through the inner line of the legs, then you're in the right place. Maybe lowering to elbows, maybe lowering onto your prop. And just be mindful of where the hips are relative to the knees, maybe finding one line from left knee to hips to right knee. So if the hips are slightly forward, you might lose the connection with the stretch. Adding in the support that you need here, and then coming to find your stillness as you're ready. Last few deep breaths here. When the time comes to come out, you can lift yourself up slightly and then think about sliding the legs back, eventually coming back to lying kind of on the belly. And we're not going to stay here, so straight away you can flip yourself onto your back. Take a moment to set yourself up, and you can slide any of the props out from under you. It might be helpful to take a hard block down towards the right, maybe one or both. And we're going to set up for a twist, so having somewhere for the knees to land. I'm going to set up a eagle twist, but if you prefer two knees stacked together, then choose that instead. If you're coming with me, wrap the right leg or the left leg around the right, scoot the hips over towards the left, and then lower the knees down towards the right. Knees can rest on any props that you have nearby, and then maybe arms to a T shape or cactus. If you want a little more left side body stretch, you could also extend the left arm to the floor overhead. Making any last adjustments you need to your shape, and then finding your stillness here. You can unravel the legs together or separate them first. Either way, we'll release the legs and scoot the hips back to midline. If the blocks were handy, you can take them over to the left now. And then right leg around the left, hips towards the right, and then knees down towards the left. Setting up for the second side. Maybe the same expression exactly or something a little different. And take your time to take whatever you need here. Settle into your shape. Gently release the arms and release the legs back to center. Unravel, and then it might feel nice to take one last gentle windshield wiper of the knees side to side. Awesome. And then see if your body's asking for any last quiet shape or movement. And when you're ready, we will set up for Shavasana, so choose any comfortable symmetrical shape to rest in. You could come back to butterfly if you like, or take the more traditional legs extended shape. Settle the shoulders down to the floor, the arms maybe somewhere beside the body or on it. See if you need any extra layers here, if you want to adjust your lighting, music, temperature. And taking your time to get nice and cozy and comfortable. And then start to let your breath soften back to its natural inhale and exhale. And invite the mind to quiet down. And invite your body to find your rest. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Give your head a gentle rock side to side. It might feel nice to circle the wrists and the ankles a few times. And maybe eventually you want to reach the arms up overhead and give yourself a full body stretch. And then the knees into the chest and wrap the arms around the shins, curl up into a ball and give yourself a hug and a squeeze. And then rolling down to one side, taking a pause for a couple of breaths. Eventually coming up to find any comfortable seated position. Sitting up off of one of your props if that helps you feel a little more comfortable. Settling the hips, gently lengthening the spine, keeping the shoulders nice and soft, the chest proud. Hands resting wherever they feel the most comfortable. As you pause here, take a scan through the body to notice. As you notice the body, notice the gentle flow of your breath. You can leave the hands where they're resting or bring the palms to touch in front of the heart. Maybe bow the chin towards the chest. And thank you for joining for practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for practice today. My name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your week.